In this lesson, we're going to solve quadratic equations using the completing the square method. So I typed out the steps. Right here we have, first, you want your equation in the form ax squared plus bx plus c equal to 0. Check the a term. If it's not 1, we want to divide it out from both sides of the equation. Then we're going to move the constant, the c, to the right side. At that point, we're going to take b, the number in front of x, we're going to divide by 2 and square it. And once we get that number, we're going to add that to both sides. By then we've set it up, so now we can rewrite the left side, and then last we'll solve the resulting equation using square roots. So I have a couple of examples where we can solve using the complete the square method. So according to the steps I just listed, we have the equation in the right form. The a value is 1, so we don't have to divide anything out. So next we're going to move this constant to the right side. So it was a -6. To move it over, we added it over. And I put little blank slots right here so that when we add the b divided by 2 squared, we remember to do it to both sides of the equation. And what we do is we take the b and we divide by 2. So 4 divided by 2 makes 2, and then we square that and we get 4. So 4 is the number that we're going to add to both sides of the equation. Okay, so this is the point where you look at this left side, it's a trinomial. If you factor it, what you end up doing is you get x plus 2 times x plus 2, and then I just rewrote that as x plus 2 quantity squared. Now, because of the way completing the square works, you don't actually have to factor it because we have patterns. And to get from the trinomial form to this form, all you do is you take the x and then you add, and this is always going to be b divided by 2. So if you look right here, this is b divided by 2, which is simplified to 2. So that's why we have x plus 2. Again, this is the same number as that one every time. On the right side, we're going to combine these to get 10. So we take the square root of both sides. Just a general rule of thumb, if there was no square root in the problem and you write the square root into it, you also want to include a plus or minus. Okay, so to finish, the square root and the square, they undo each other, so you just have x plus 2. And last step, we're going to subtract 2 from both sides. And so your final answer is going to be -2 plus or minus the square root of 10. Okay, for this next example, we have the equation in the right form, it's equal to 0. Next, if we check the a term is not 1, so we want to get rid of this 3 right here. So to get rid of this a value, we're going to divide it out from both sides of the equation, so I got this set up. So now we have x squared minus 12x plus 4 equals 0. Next step, we're going to move this constant over to the right side, and now we're ready to go. So we're going to take our b and divide by 2, and you end up getting -6. Square it, and you get 36. So 36 is the value we're going to add to both sides of the equation. Now we're going to rewrite the left side. You can rewrite it as x and then b divided by 2. So remember, b divided by 2 is going to be -6. So you have x minus 6 quantity squared. On the right side, we're going to combine these to get 32. And now to finish this, we're going to square root both sides. Okay, the square root and the square, they cancel out, so you just have x minus 6. 32 is 16 times 2. The square root of 16 is 4. So we get 4 root 2. Finally, we're going to add the 6 over. So our final answer is 6 plus or minus 4 root 2. And remember, this represents two answers. One answer is 6 plus 4 root 2, and the other answer is 6 minus 4 root 2. Okay, for this problem, we want the whole equation equal to 0. Because this x squared term is negative, we're going to move it to the left side of the equation. And we'll also move this guy over as well. So we get 2x squared plus 8x plus 7 equals 0. Next step, we want this a value to be 1, so we're going to divide it out. So we're dividing both sides of the equation by 2. So we end up getting x squared plus 4x plus 7 halves equals 0. Next, let's go ahead and move this constant to the right side. So we're going to take this 4, divide by 2, and then we're going to square it. So we're going to add 4 to both sides of the equation. On the left side, we're going to rewrite it. On the right side, we're going to add these fractions. In order to add these fractions, I put the 4 over the 1, and we need a common denominator. So we're going to multiply this fraction by 2 on top and bottom. So here we have -7 plus 8 all over 2. So you end up getting 1/2. Okay, we're ready to take the square root of both sides. Make sure you include your plus or minus. The square root and the square, they cancel out, so you just get x plus 2 on the left. On the right side, you can simplify this as the square root of 1 over the square root of 2. So you just get 1 over root 2. And next, we're going to rationalize the denominator. So I'm going to multiply the top and bottom by root 2. So you end up getting plus or minus the square root of 2 over 2. And then last step, we're going to subtract 2 over. And I'm going to leave the answer like this: -2 plus or minus the square root of 2 over 2. Thanks for watching, guys!